There is a strange feeling that visits almost everyone at some point in life. It often arrives in silence, not during moments of chaos, but after the applause has faded, after the promotion, after graduation, after buying the house you dreamed of, after achieving the goal you believed would finally make everything make sense. For a brief moment, you stand at the top of the mountain you spend years climbing. And then you quickly ask yourself, is this it? It is one of the oldest questions humanity has ever asked. Not how do I become successful or not how do I become admired, but how do I live a life that actually means something? Most people spend their lives believing that meaning is waiting somewhere in the future. If I earn enough money, if I find the right partner, if people finally understand me, if I become someone important, then surely life will begin. But imagine spending your entire life chasing the horizon. The faster you run, the further it appears. Perhaps meaning has never been standing in front of you. Perhaps it has been quietly walking beside you all along. The tragedy is not that people fail. The tragedy is that many succeed at goals that were never truly theirs. From childhood, invisible hands begin shaping us. Parents teach us what success should look like, or teachers reward certain talents while ignoring others. Society hands up a script before we are old enough to question whether we even want the role. Slowly, almost without noticing, we begin collecting identities. I am intelligent, I am successful, or I am a failure, I am the funny one, I am the responsible one. Every label becomes another layer between you and the real. Eventually, we no longer ask who we are, we only ask whether we are living up to the character we have created. This is exhausting because every identity must constantly defend itself. The successful person fears failure. The stronger person fears vulnerability. The intelligent person fears looking foolish. The popular person fears being forgotten. We become prisoners guarding cells that we build ourselves. And yet, have you ever noticed how peaceful young children seem before they begin compare themselves to someone else? A child watches rain without wondering if someone else enjoys it better. A child laughs without calculating whether the laugh is impressive. A child asks impossible questions because curiosity matters more than appearing intelligent. That is something really important. Somewhere along the journey into adulthood, we replace curiosity with performance. We stop living. We start managing ourselves with an image. And images can never be satisfied. They always demand another achievement, another compliment, another victory, another proof that we matter. But perhaps this constant hunger is terrifying and it's teaching us something. Perhaps it isn't asking for more success. Perhaps it is asking us to stop searching for ourselves in places where we were never meant to be found. Now consider another mystery. Why is it that two people can experience the exact same event and walk away with completely different stories? One loses a job and discovers a new purpose. Another loses the same job and believes life has ended. One sees circumstances as an opportunity. Another hears it as rejection. One enters a crowded room full of strangers with excitement. Another enters with fear. The world itself has not changed, only the mind interpreting it has. This is where life becomes deeply fascinating. We often believe people are difficult because they refuse to think like us. But what if that expectation is the real source of suffering? Imagine walking into a garden expecting every flower to become a rose. You would spend your entire life disappointed by lilies, tulips, orchids, and sunflowers. Yet no one expects flowers to bloom in identical ways. Only people who secretly hope Our partners will think like us. Our friends will value what we value. Our colleagues will communicate exactly as we do. When they don't, conflict begins. Not because someone is wrong, but because someone is different. A fascinating psychological idea is that people often approach the world through very different patterns. Some are driven by action, others by connection. Some crave stability, others seek precision and careful analysis. None of these approaches are inherently better than others. Each sees reality through a different window. Imagine four people standing around the same mountain. One admires how quickly it can be climbed. Another notices the beauty of the trees that are upon the mountain. A third studies the safest path. A fourth wants to understand how the mountain was formed for millions of years. They are looking at the same mountain, yet each believes they are seeing the whole picture. Life becomes infinitely less frustrating when we realize that every person carries a different map. The mistake is assuming our own map is the territory itself. And perhaps this is where meaning quietly begins. Not in proving our map is correct, but in becoming curious about the maps carried by everyone else. Because every conversation is no longer a debate to win, it becomes an invitation to see another corner of reality. Maybe the purpose of life is not to become the smartest person in the room. Maybe it is to become the person who can walk into any room and leave understanding people more deeply than before. And perhaps in learning to understand others, we finally begin understanding ourselves.